Arsenal with a big win and their third on the bounce after a turbulent few games where they lost 3. Fans lost hope. The top 4 race looked like it was slipping between their fingers. Victories over Chelsea, Manchester United, and a big, massive 3 points away at West Ham United today puts Arsenal in the driving seat, in the ascendancy, and puts them in as clear favourites now. With Tottenham up against Liverpool at Anfield next, there is an opportunity by the end of next weekend to be 5 points clear. If you go with the favourites, if you go with what should happen, Arsenal will put themselves in that ascendancy. And it wasn't the best performance you'll ever see from Arsenal today. There were times where they let West Ham in. Of course, they conceded a goal to Bowen. But Rob Holding and Gabriel, both from set pieces, giving Arsenal the goals they needed to get the 3 points, to leapfrog Tottenham, who of course themselves won today. Also, just 3 points now behind Chelsea. This could be a very good end to the season for Arsenal, a team that we've all seen the improvements in, a team that we've also seen improve over the course of this season. They had that sticky spell and that little patch. Lost to Liverpool, beat Villa, and then there's 3 defeats on the bounce. And it was a case of, will Mikel Arteta be able to turn this around? Will Mikel Arteta be able to manage his team back to some confidence, get them playing and get them winning again? And he has. And this is where football fans need to stop being so binary, need to stop being so absolute about everything. We're not exactly where we want to be. We haven't reached the top of the mountain, therefore I'm not going to be happy. Equally, stop ignoring problems or issues that are arising. And again, as fans, you're meant to kind of assess games game by game in terms of what happened today. What are the issues right now? What do you think is going to happen in the future? Therefore, and so forth. And look, for me, Arsenal have done impeccably well to turn this around, especially with this game against West Ham away and the away match against Chelsea. 2 games which, when you look at the previous 3 performances, they may not have been predicted to achieve. A lot of people probably didn't think that it was possible or plausible for them to get themselves over the line, but they did, and they did it very, very well indeed. That cannot be denied nor taken away from Arsenal, and there needs to be a lot of credit given to them and a lot of praise for turning it around. Now, I know there'll be some negative gooners out there that will say, no, we're not challenging for league titles yet, so therefore I'm not going to applaud anything. But it is a step change process. And the one thing I know I like about this Arsenal team now is there is an element of fight there. There is an element of character. It needs to be built upon. You can't have those 3 defeats at the beginning of the season, 3 defeats in the row when you're in a top 4 race. You can't continue in that level if Arsenal want to get back to the peak of their powers and challenge again. But you've shown twice this time, Arsenal have. 3 times, really, in fact, because you had that little mini blip as well when you got beat by Man United and Everton, where you have these poor results, but they're able to turn it round. They're able to get back on track. And I know there's this big celebration about how good these young players are, and it's true. But this summer's going to be key. Buying some experienced individuals, I think, is where Arsenal need to go next, to give them a bit of extra stability, to give them just those extra moments where there were times there, I thought Eddie Nketiah, by the way, had a very good second half, but there were times where, you shouldn't be shooting, keep possession, keep passing the ball as an example, a bit more maturity and kind of some subtlety in that midfield needs to be purchased as well. Maybe the fullback situation, because as good as Tavares was when he's running forward with the ball, there's defensive issues. And look, we know how good Tierney is, but he's made of biscuits. And you need something a little bit stronger there as well. But overall, a brilliant run of 3 games for Arsenal. Irrespective of what you think of the performance, the points are what matter at this stage of the season. It's as simple and it's as straightforward as that. And Arsenal, I wouldn't say inexplicably, but after those 3 defeats on the bounce, those 4 defeats in 5, they have come back. They've been better than Tottenham. They're gaining on Chelsea. They're in the ascendancy for a top 4 place. And we know what that means for Arsenal. Attracting talent, extra talent in the summer. Arsenal can always attract top stars. There's no doubt. Your Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest in the world. And it really, I think it also is going to be that great testing ground, that acid test for how good Arteta is as a manager, not just a coach. How can he manage the squad 2 games per week throughout the course of the majority of the season? Of course, if you stay in the Champions League and don't get knocked out too early in the League Cup. I'm intrigued to see it as a football fan in general. Now, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. Make sure you're smashing the like button right now. We've got a panel to come later, a call from Brandon first. We've got Igal coming on. Patrick should be here. We're going to open up the lines for more of you to come on and have your say as well. Nexus here says Chelsea are only 3 points ahead. This is it. They are. And it's funny. I haven't watched the video yet, but I saw a video titled by Rory Jennings earlier that said Roman would have sacked Tuchel by now. And I don't know whether that's Jennings saying that he wants Tuchel sacked or not. I'm going to be doing that on Fan Channel Review. But it's true. It's not been a very good season for them whatsoever. Al here says top 4 secured. He's a gooner that believes top 4 is done. He believes it is secured here, as you can see. Stephen O'Connor, who's a Liverpool fan, said that West Ham offered nothing. So I wouldn't say that's true. I think West Ham were in this game. It was only 2-1. They did score a very good goal. I just felt they ran out of steam a little bit. Yes, they brought on Antonio and they brought on Souček, but Thursday night was a tough and engrossing game for them. It just didn't quite have the legs, in my opinion, to push on. Plus, Arsenal was simply better. So Arsenal were able to shut them down and keep them out. And I don't think that should be ignored. E3 Boss says Chelsea only 3 points, keeps slipping up. Who knows? And look, I know that some gooners say it's not an achievement just to be above Chelsea. Yeah, there's a bit of banter and a bit of bragging rights in there, and you've got to have that in football, right? Also, big up Terry, got to get it done on Leeds before the North London derby. Well, the North London derby is key because the Leeds game is key before the North London derby because Spurs are more than likely to drop points in one way, shape, or form against Liverpool. More than likely. You beat Leeds, you could be anything between sort of 4 to 5 points ahead, meaning even losing the North London derby doesn't end things for you. So it's a massive week ahead. It's going to be a tense week ahead in this top 4 race. Terry, top 4 is over. Arsenal 3rd. Chelsea hanging on for 4th. Spurs nowhere. Some gooners here, really, really confident. Leicester gave Spurs 6 points, 1 injury time, the other today. Thank you, Leicester. Mohammed thinks that Leeds will beat Arsenal next week. I'm not too sure. Arsenal are better than them. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that in my mind at all. Ramsdale, red card or not enough? It's a really good it's one of the talking points for the panel a little bit later. As you can see here, Ramsdale doesn't win the ball. This is one of those, isn't it? This is one of those scenarios when it comes to this. There was no contact. So therefore, I would say no foul. I don't even think minimal contact is. I mean, the speed he was running at, a little bit of contact, he would have probably tripped over. This was one of those scenarios where Bowen left his legs trailing and was waiting for that contact and essentially missed Aaron Ramsdale. So therefore, it's simulation. If that trailing leg clips Ramsdale maybe gets a red card. Fine margins in football. I don't like that players do this. I don't like they leave their legs trailing. But we as football fans created this process by supporting our when we win penalties, especially doing this, we say, well, the defender left his leg out there. It's on him. We defend it when we win penalties. So I almost understand why Bowen did what he did, because it's the way football has gone. Simulating and diving has been accepted by the majority of football fans, pundits and journalists now for the past decade or so, where we blame the defender or the goalkeeper in this case for making a rash challenge as opposed to the player that dives or leaves a leg hanging. But it was a matter of fine margins. Forget my opinion is no contact, no foul. In the actual reality of football, if he makes that contact, Ramsdale could go off. The fact that a couple of minutes later, Arsenal got their second goal, that's just football. That's just the way football goes. But I would like your views and opinions on that. I mean, West Ham fans will definitely be calling it a red. I heard a commentator on the show I was watching say, yeah, but he had to get out the way of the challenge and it took him out his stride. I mean, look, no one jumps out the way of a slide tackle and bucks their legs up and then doesn't put them back on the ground. Like, that's not how you jump over things, right? I've tripped over my kids before, and you don't dive, you stay on your feet. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, not for me. Terry, give your honest opinion of Arsenal of late. Well, I do it on every single show that I do. And up until their really poor period, I recognized their improvements. I recognized on the pitch, improvements in the season, more points. When they went through that really bad run and lost their confidence and couldn't win, I felt that maybe I was a little bit too premature with the improvement. But listen to what I said in those statements. It's all gonna be about the bounce back. Sorry, I got an itchy head. It's all gonna be about the bounce back from that position. Then you really see where you are, and they've bounced back impeccably. This is an Arsenal team that has improved, but this is an Arsenal team that's got a long, long way to go. So, like, as I said to Gooners since that North London derby win at the beginning of the season, be happy with the wins, celebrate the wins, but my view is don't get carried away with where you are on your journey, because you are a long way away from being where Arsenal need to be, which is challenging for titles. And until you're challenging for titles, this sense of relaxation shouldn't exist within fans. Being happy with the team, liking the players, being excited, of course. But there's a difference between that and I think we're there. I think we've made it. That's all I've got to say, really. And I think that's a very fair breakdown of Arsenal Football Club's situation right now. If he touched in, then yeah, it's a red, but he didn't. That's exactly my point there, Prince. I think it's one of those very fine margins. It's a foul in the sense of he missed the ball, Ramsdale. He just didn't make contact with the player. But we see this all the time now. Players like Mo Salah's one of the best in the world at this. He sees a tackle come in. He sort of delays his run, already arching the back, leaves a leg out, waits for that contact, and then goes down. Every now and then you do that, and the defender or the goalkeeper just misses your leg, and then you go down, and it's like, he simulated. But all those types of penalties and fouls are simulation. And you'll see it in slow motion replay. A player's already at a 45-degree angle sometimes before the contact comes in. They're all simulation. It's just whether the contact hits or not. And for me, that's why I think you either need to make all those things fouls irrespective, or you've got to make it's actually got to be an absolute cruncher for it to be a penalty or a foul. To stop all this nonsense of simulation, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Arsenal on the way to the Champions League is what Sports Genius says here. I'm going to bring the panel out soon. Not too sure where they all are. They have had the link. Well done, you Gunners, is what CJRSA has got to say. Chelsea, you're with the rest of us. Don't get it twisted, is what 3EBOS says. Them not the rules, friends. Contact not necessary for a red. Intent to cause harm, even if you miss, can be a red card offense. Yes, but intent to cause harm, it would have to be a very dangerous tackle with a huge lunge or an elbow or a punch. And absolutely, if Bowen would have jumped over him, landed on his feet, but been off balance and fallen over, I would have said foul. But it's the way Bowen allowed himself to fall. He didn't try to stay on his feet because he expected contact. Real big difference for me in that. Shaky first half. We managed to see out the game again. These last 3 games are showing that the system is right, but we need better players. Yeah, I hear you on that. I think there's a large element of truth in what you're saying there. There is improvement, but it's about making the squad better. It's about improving the strength in depth. And then it's about getting certain decisions right. It's about switching on at the right times. And what really impressed me with Arsenal today is they're in the ascendancy. They're the favourites for top 4. This is where you show your bottle. This is where you show your courage. And they did it. And they did it well. And I think that deserves absolute credit. You can't take it away from them. Terry, please stop crying. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's a very strange comment. Terry Tibbs says Chelsea are in serious trouble of falling off if they do, which is more surprising. A 14-point lead wiped out by Liverpool or Chelsea. Sorry, wiped out by Liverpool or Chelsea fall off if they miss out on top 4 and get beat in the FA Cup. Yeah, that'd be massive. Were they that clear in the top 4? I haven't even looked at how far they were in front of the chasing pack. And honestly, if Spurs and Arsenal were a little bit more consistent, I really think they would have caught Chelsea. But there we go. If when we lose all our games, we'll still finish. If we lose all our games, we'll still finish 6th. It's already our target at the beginning of the season. Now is the matter if we can hold on for Champions League football. And Billy, of course, it was your target at the start of the season, but targets change, expectations change. Liverpool fans were not targeting the quad at the beginning of the season, but it's there and it's available and it's achievable now. So the expectation is to get close to it. If Liverpool would fall away now and just win the League Cup this year, Liverpool fans would be disappointed, even though in not winning the quad, even though they started the season not wanting it. Arsenal expected top 6. They're going to do that. So they've achieved their target, but there is a massive opportunity to achieve more. If you're not disappointed from missing out when you're in the ascendancy, for me, that's the wrong standards to have at your football club when you're Arsenal. You're not West Ham, who have never won a league title. I don't think they finished higher than 3rd in the history of their football club. You are big boy Arsenal. You have to have high expectations. And there's certain teams this year that have not been as good, not been as consistent as everybody predicted. There's an opening. You should expect your team to jump into that slot, And I think that for me is where standards need to be. We're not like, I'm just going to say it's happy because we hit or achieved our targets because that's going to make my club look good. I don't think most Arsenal fans believe that in their heart of hearts, As Gal would always say, not finishing in the top 4 from the point they were in would be an embarrassment. And I credit someone like Gal for saying that because he's making a bold statement and putting pressure, the right kind of pressure on his football club. It's correct. Imagine if the final day decides the champions top 4 and relegation. As a football fan, I'd love that. As a football fan, I'd love it all to go down to the last day. It'd be an epic day. We're going to be in the studio for that, for a full-length watch-along and match reaction show. So fingers crossed for the first time in almost YouTube history, there's so much riding on the final day of the season. It would be amazing. Amazing. And yet Lee Gunner will slag off this performance. Listen, Lee Gunner will be on the show on Tuesday. We'll talk about it then. We'll go for it. And he's entitled to if he wants to. But that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the beast. Everybody is entitled to an opinion. I'm very cautious of what goes on with Lee Gunner in the sense of a lot of people want his opinion shut down. Be very careful what you ask for, even on a footballing sense. If you start closing down opinions that you don't like, what happens when your opinion about football becomes something the masses don't like? Slippery slope to want to shut down people. Terry, don't give this person airtime. Don't let this person call in. Don't let this person speak. Because at some point, the Overton window changes. And then what you love and think is important is now suddenly ostracized. Well, should I not let you have your say? Should I not read out your comments? Can't do that, my friend. Can't do that, my friend. That's not the right way of going about things. Carrick is talking out his ass. I wonder what he thought about Bruno not getting a red card last week. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen. You have to give me Carrick's comments to give me any kind of context. Without Carrick's comments, I have no idea what you're talking about, my friend. I really, really don't. We're going to bring out Brandon now to have his say on the show. Make sure you're smashing that like button for us. Brandon, welcome back to the Terrace, mate. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, good, mate. Job done, Terry. Job done. We got the 3 points again. Most Arsenal fans won't like to hear it, so I'm not going to mention it too much, but the performance wasn't great. Let's be honest. This is, again, it's a West Ham team with no focal point up front. Souček was missing out of the midfield. They had defenders missing left, right and centre as well. They're playing Thursday night football as well, twice a week. So, I'm not going to build it up to be anything greater than what it actually is, which is 3 points. It keeps us in the shout for the Champions League spots, which I think we'll get. And I'll actually be very disappointed if we don't at least try and catch Chelsea. Like you said, 3 points behind them. We got to push for that third spot. Forget about fourth. Forget about this little battle with Tottenham. Let's try and push and get that third spot instead. And jump ahead of Chelsea. That's what I think. On top of that, I'm happy, Terry. I am happy. Arsenal fans think I'm negative. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. I'll be happy if we get Champions League football, because then it will actually show the ambition of this football club, because there'll be no more excuses. There'll be no more excuses for the football club. There'll be no more excuses for the owners or for the manager or the players, because if we get Champions League football this season, and, like most Arsenal fans seem to think that if we get Champions League football, all of a sudden we'll start signing top-class players and stuff like that, which is fair enough. But if we get Champions League football this season and then we go and finish 6th or 7th next season, that's not really progress, is it? So for me, it doesn't matter whether you're Arteta in, Arteta out, Kroenke in, Kroenke out. As Arsenal fans, our sole ambition should be for the football club to be competing for major honours. And it's a step towards that if we get Champions League football. But is it really a step towards that? This is the thing, I'm still sceptical about it, because we watched Arsenal qualify for Champions League football for 22 years in a row under Arsene Wenger. And we never actually really went to try and win it and compete in the Premier League and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see, mate, what happens. That's all I'm going to say, And for me, I know we're saying about Leeds being more important than North London derby, and we could be 5 points ahead of Spurs by the time the North London derby comes. But for me, for the rest of the games for the rest of the season are just as important, especially that North London derby. for us to finish ahead of Chelsea. That's what I want. I want Arsenal to finish as high as they possibly can in the league this season now.
Listen, I totally get where you're coming from in terms of, I tweeted something there about Man United. Show people I'm consistent. And Matt Judge is gone. And Matt Judge and Woodward are both out of this club. That is amazing news. But my point to people is Ten Hag's coming in, they've gone. Paul Mitchell could be on his way in. But you don't take your foot off the neck of the owners because they do one or two good things or you achieve a milestone. It's about continuing that pressure. Now, you can continue that pressure and still enjoy the wins and the success along the way. That's my way of doing it. It's almost, well, I'm going to enjoy all the good moments along the way, but it's not losing sight of that focus of, but we are not where we still want to be. And I think that's what fans have to sort of do. And as long as that happens, Arsenal can get back to the top. As soon as clubs feel like the fans are willing to accept where they are, and I think Arsenal got into that space of the top 4 trophy. I know it became a bit of a joke, but it was almost the club were happy just for that. The Glazers at Man United, they don't sack managers unless they miss out on the top 4. You come 4th, they'll just keep you forever. That can't be the standard that fans accept. So I totally agree with where you're coming from on that, mate. Absolutely spot on.
I know this is probably a little bit unrelated now because obviously we won the game, but I was seeing at half time a lot of people were giving Tavares a lot of stick again. What I would say is, he's not a great player and he deserves some of the stick that he gets, but a lot of the time I see these Arsenal fans, they create scapegoats for me. Tavares for me was being used as an scapegoat at half time because it wasn't very good defensively when West Ham scored their goal, but I was more looking at the fact that what are they attacking front three done? Do you know what I mean? Like Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah up until that point had done absolutely nothing. Again, for me today, Nketiah proved exactly why he's not a top level striker. He had 3 very good chances, and he should have buried at least one of them, and he didn't. Saka, I think he's just played so much football this season that you're going to get hit and miss performances from him because he's young, he's inconsistent anyway, but he plays so much football as well. And I don't know, Terry, it's going to be interesting to see where Arsenal go from here. But I am happy. Believe it or not.
No, mate, I get that you're happy. I really, really do. I see that in what you're saying. You're just saying I'm happy, but I want more and I want more. And that for me is the right way to do it. I look at both our clubs in this circumstance. If you're trying to get in shape, you're trying to get the 8-pack, nice pecs, big shoulders, good solid arms, you might start losing the weight and I can see the shape coming. But that's not when you quit. You don't go, right, I've made it now. I don't need the gym anymore. You keep going, but you celebrate those milestones. I think that's the right way to do it. Bran, top man. Speak to you again soon, my guy. Thank you very much indeed. Viewers, let's make sure we smash the like button and get this past at least 500 while we're live on the air. We're about halfway there as it stands right now. And thank you to Daryl for renewing your membership as an Academy member for the past 4 months. It means a great deal to us. Igao and Samuel still to come on the show. Curran to join us as well on the panel. We're going to take a few more calls before that. Young Wilson is here. How's it going, mate?
Hey. How you doing, Terry?
I'm very good, my friend. Give me your thoughts on that win today. How important was that for Arsenal?
Oh, that was a massive win for Arsenal because, Tottenham put the pressure on us and we needed to respond to that. It was not the best of all performances by Arsenal. I felt in the first half, West Ham were probably the better team. They were threatening a little bit. I was a bit annoyed with the goal we conceded because we left a bit too much space on the left-hand side, which really annoyed me. We need to cut those mistakes out because we need to be fully concentrated for the whole game. We can't afford to switch off like that. However, in the second half, I felt we started better. We were more threatening. We had the better chances. We wanted it a bit more from West Ham. Eddie had several chances. He could have buried one of them at least. But the fact is, when you're not at your best, you got to ground out a result and get it over the line. And we did that. And I have to say, the Arsenal defense defended very well. I felt Ramsdale again. I felt he was good as well. I do feel top 4 is still in Arsenal's hands, and we've got the momentum as well, which is absolutely vital at this stage of the season It's not just about performances, it's about the results. It's as simple as that, Terry. Simple as that.
Listen, Wilson, great call. Could not agree with you more about the momentum and trajectory that you're going in. It's absolutely critical because results over performances right now is massive. Top man, Wilson. Thanks for coming on and having your say. Just everyone, Wilson was the first Arsenal fan that ever started following the Football Terrace when we kind of first rebranded from being the Man United channel back in, I think, 2017. So big up, Wilson, for being the first Gooner that I remember anyway speaking to on the show. Red Wolf says, need to stop this improvement BS. If they maintain this next season, that's a different story. Can't wait for the excuses next year by Arsenal fans. I understand where you're coming from, but that's almost sustaining the improvement they've shown. That means there has been improvement. I get your point, and I agree with you in the sense of, yeah, we're back. I think that's silly talk from clubs where Arsenal have been, where Man United. I mean, Spurs can never say they're back because they were never there. But there's this element of you've just got to keep your neck on your foot on the neck of the owners, the foot on the neck of the club, and keep pushing for these improvements. Man United fans, Arsenal fans, in my opinion, Chelsea fans same right now. We should never be content until we're challenging for league titles at the very least. But I do think you have to recognise the improvements. I just think you have to. Otherwise, bit boring, isn't it? Like, where's the joy? I'm going to sit here and be grumpy for the next 3 years. I personally can't do it. I can't do it. Not me. Lorenzo here says, I'm not saying that at all, Terry. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but to want your team to lose to feed your agenda is not healthy. And again, some people think Lee wants them to lose to feed his agenda. Lee will say, it's not an agenda. I want them to lose because I don't think Arteta is going to get us back to that end goal. The quicker he's gone, the better. I understand his view. I do. I disagree with wanting his team to lose, but I understand it. And I think what's really important here is this. I see this too much on social media now. Everybody's got an agenda. Well, Curran's about to join us in a minute. Some people will say he's got an agenda. Some people will say Lee's got an agenda. I've got an agenda. Everyone has it. It's not an agenda. It's just an opinion. And or a way of thinking. And I just sometimes think, rather than, and I'm not having a pop at you here, rather than like attacking someone, oh, you're a liar, you're only doing it for money, you're only doing it for this, why don't you just go, I disagree with your opinion, and try and debunk their logic as to why it's wrong, as opposed to going after the character. It's one of the reasons why politics has died, because instead of people debating policy, they debate each other's persons and character. It's really boring. Let's talk about what's being said and not the person who's saying it. Much more important, in my opinion. If I didn't have people on that the masses sometimes didn't like their opinions, I would never have a gal back. The amount of time I told, don't have him back on, he's delusional. Oh, I love it. I'm not saying he's delusional, but I love having him on because he gives, one thing I love about Igal, and he's coming on in a second, he just gives an opinion. I don't always agree with it, but I love that he does it. Do you know what I don't like Igal? When he sits there and tries to be Gary Lineker and really calm and in the middle, and just be Igal. We want to see Igal on the Football Terrace. That's what we want. And that's all I'm going to say on that matter. Who else is backstage here? Who else is backstage that I can see? Right, we're going to bring the panel on. We're going to get to some more calls a little bit later. Please be hitting that like button for us. By the way, Z isn't coming on. People asking for Z. I very much doubt that man will be here today. But young Samuel, Curran, Igal about to join me on the panel right about now. Let's do it, people. Welcome back to the show, gents. How all three of you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing really good. I'm very ecstatic that we just won. Business end of the season. All that matters is getting the 3 points, and we got the 3 points. And you know what? We go on to the next game. Very, very happy. And you know what? Let me just go first since I'm already speaking. Big up Rob Holding, stepping in for Ben White, doing his thing, got a goal, stepped up. We didn't really expect him to come in and start today, or at least I didn't. I thought Rob Holding was going to be okay. I didn't realize he would pick up a knock, and Ben White picked up a knock, and then he came in immediately. He was making blocks, doing what he had to do in the back. He got us a much needed goal, got his first goal in the Premier League. So shout out to him. Shout out to Gabriel Magalhaes getting us the goal that won us the game. Big up to the team because they showed that they have the character to continue to drag out these results, even though it was not the best performance overall. It's the results that matter, and that's all that you need at this business end of the season. And we got that, and I'm very happy. And if I don't sound excited, it's because I just got some sad news, but that's okay.
Okay, man. By the way, you do sound excited. Curran, long time no see, Curran. Last time I saw you, you'd lost 3 games on the bounce, and you tweeted a picture of yourself on a beach. You kept yourself away, you kept your powder dry, but you're back now. 3 wins on the bounce. Arsenal looking good again in a results point of view. Give me your thoughts, my friend.
I was on the beach, correct. I was. I didn't watch that Southampton game because I thought we would lose. But look, it's funny how things change, and it's funny how very, very small changes can make such big differences. Just the past 3 games, and the past now 4 games, you can see that how 3 games. I want to talk about the last 3 games. You can see how bringing someone else back into the midfield, making that midfield solidity actually helped us. The introduction of Eddie, who, by the way, I like Brandon, but I think I disagree with him here. I think Eddie had a brilliant game today. I think running the channels, being that outlet, giving Kurt Zuma a hard time. Really, let's say what it is. These past 3 games, Eddie Nketiah has been that guy who has really turned our season around in some ways. We've had players step up at the right times, and that's all you have to say about it. And today was scrappy. We went into that 5-4-1 low block at the end of the game. We did retreat it back in. It was good to see some players step up again in different situations. So a big shout out to Martinelli, because even though it wasn't his best game going forward, he helped out with Nuno, because Nuno was having a tough time putting in challenges, winning duels, getting himself about, putting himself in the air. Very good performance from him. The other Gabriel, obviously, much maligned by our fan base because of one reason or the other, came in great in the air, helped double up when Nuno got beat. Very good performance from him, and Holding as well. I think obviously both of them got the goals, but what I would say about Rob is Rob has this ability to not only win his balls in the air, but he's got that leadership ability to calm down the entire back line, so you can have everyone, even in that tight situation that we were in the last 10 minutes, and really get that game down. What I want to ask all of you is, what did you make of the Ramsdale situation? Because for me, I think it's very touch and go. I don't think it's a dive. I think that was a bit harsh for Mike Riley to give him that yellow, but I don't think it's a red either. I think there's 2 men back. I don't think it's a foul because there's no contact. But yeah,
I mean, the thing is, you know what? Because this is Mike Dean. I think this is Mike Dean's last ever Arsenal game with referee. I was thinking everyone was into the game like, he's gonna do something, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. But I think he made the right decision. He didn't want to be the center of attention today, like he always wants to be. He went over to his assistant because the assistant had a far better view. I think this is from the perspective of the assistant. He had his exact same angle as his camera angle, and I think the right decision was made in the end.
Yeah, look, Gal, what was your take on it? Because in real time, when he blew up, it looked like he'd given a foul. Do you feel like Ramsdale was lucky there that no contact was made?
Listen, when you watch it and you watch it in real time, you can put your heart in your mouth for a second and think it's something else. But when you really rewatch it and you see it in slow motion, I'm pretty sure anybody who's seen that would say, Ramsdale had no foul, did no foul there. And even if he did give a foul to Ramsdale, I'm not sure he would say this is a situation where you send him off. Because it was obviously, as you said, there's 2 men there tracking the runner. Who's to say he's going to score from that situation? So in my opinion, it's a nothing situation. And at this point of the season, I don't really even care as long as they don't ruin the integrity of this work, because we've seen similar situations in Liverpool and City where they don't want to send off players. We've seen in title races before where they don't want to send off players. So I don't think referees are going to now put a whole team's season in jeopardy by sending off a goalkeeper.
Yeah. Also, on that, I want to add currently, Gal, I mean, we've beaten last season's point tally already with 4 games to go. Because last season I think it was 60 points. Now we've reached 63 points this season. So of course, we just need to maintain, carry on winning our final games. Like you guys said earlier, the Liverpool performance hasn't been that good in these past couple of games, but that does not matter right now at this point in the season. It's all about the results.
Yeah, I think on this kind of tackle, it's one of those weird ones for me. Like Ramsdale makes a big lunge and misses the ball and the player. If there's contact, it gets given as a foul. When goalies come that far out, I've seen red cards given, irrespective of cover. It's one of those weird things. The player handballs it there. nothing happens. Goalies come out of the box and handball it, they get red cards. It's just kind of, I'd have to look at the law on the game there. What I find interesting is that I've always had an issue. I think all players that leave a leg dangling for contact should get booked for simulation, because you're ensuring there's I've always felt that way about football, but everybody's kind of said, no, well, if the player that making the tackle doesn't win the ball, you know, this, I remember people always saying things like, oh yeah, well, Bowen only jumped out the way to avoid injury, so therefore it's still a foul. For me, it's like, I think we're getting too deep in this stuff. Like, a foul should be a foul. Like, did you make contact? Yes. Like, did you clatter him? Then they've got to go off. I think it was the right decision, actually, looking at it as an example. The only thing that would have, I don't know if it would have changed the outcome of the game. It would have probably stopped Gabriel's goal, because by the time that free kick was taken and the trajectory of the game, maybe it wouldn't have worked its way down to their box in that time. But listen, West Ham had a lot of time in the game to turn it around. They could have, you know, they already got one goal against you. They could have done more. I've seen a few hammers try and sound like they've been robbed today. Yeah, I think that's a big stretch.
Ridiculous.
Big stretch.
That's
Equally,
ridiculous.
like I've said to you before, Igal, the referees, you only go back to the Arsenal game versus Man United today, there is no conspiracy against Arsenal. But if there was, that would have been given against you. Like I've said many times before, zero conspiracy. It never has been. Sometimes you get them, sometimes
let me
you don't.
tell you something, Terry. Let me tell you something. Forget about referees for now. We just need to focus on ourselves, and that's what I said. That's what I said. That's what I said. That's what I said. In the heart of this whole situation, I said we need to focus on ourselves, because we cause ourselves our own problems. And lately, what we've been doing, we've been getting ourselves out of problems. We've been showing character. We've been showing that we've developed as a team to a situation where we do not give up. We do not put our heads down. Arsenal of old, when we conceded that goal versus West Ham today, in the second half, we would have came out cagey and we would have conceded a second. But instead, what we did was we got that goal from Gabriel. And once we got that goal, to me, I wasn't more focused on getting the third. I always thought we needed to just shut up shop and hold on to the lead, because I did not know if the second or third was coming. But yeah, when it comes to today's performances, there's some mixed performances. Eddie kind of scared me. Nuno Tavares, I was yelling, get him off at a certain point in time. I don't know what to do with him. But these guys are going to give us headaches for the rest of the season. Just know that Leeds is not going to be an easy game. Tottenham's not going to be an easy game. Newcastle's not going to be an easy game. Everton's not going to be an easy game. All these games are going to be tough games from now to the end of the season. And it's just the team that has more character and, as you always say, who can handle the pressure. But I personally think at this point...
I agree. Mate, listen, we know why we call you a politician for a reason. You're very good at deflecting. You should have gone into politics. You really should. But my point is this. I'm glad you've said that, because you're right. Teams like Arsenal, all the big teams, referees, generally speaking, do not change the course of your games. Definitely not your seasons. It's on you. You know, it's on you to deliver, for you to stand up. Same with West Ham today. They didn't lose because they didn't get that decision from the referee. They lost because they conceded 2 goals and didn't create enough chances. You know, that's why whenever I've seen these threads the worst thread I ever saw from Arsenal fans this season is the red cards per foul ratio. And I'm like, it's the most skewed stat ever, because of the something like the 15 red cards that you had or whatever it may have been, like 7 of them were for violent conduct, grabbing of necks and headbutting. If you take those out, your red cards per fouls was about the same as everybody else. It's just stupidity from players. And I'm like, you're right. Yeah, and I'm glad you said it, Igal. We've put to bed no more conspiracy talk on the football terrace. Happy days. I want to ask you guys about Tottenham, though. I want to ask you about Tottenham and Chelsea. Do you guys see Chelsea being dragged into this? Do you see Tottenham
I don't
still?
care.
What's going on? You don't?
I really don't care. I really don't care about Chelsea, because you know why? Is the whole goal, and I've said this throughout the season, Tal. I mean, from the first day we met on that league on a stream, I said we get top 4. That's my whole game. Oh, that was the goal this season. That was the only goal this season. I don't care about Chelsea. If Chelsea continue going on this slide, then fair enough. We can snatch third. But the goal was 4th. The goal is still 4th. And this is the main thing. The one thing I did want to just quickly talk about, because I've got before, is we have not conceded a goal from set pieces, and we've gone to the team with the best set piece threat in the league. We've shut them out and scored 2 on their heads. I think that's got to be talked about as well. But in terms of Chelsea and Tottenham, look, it is what it is. We're going to have to take it one game at a time and keep going. Chelsea, look, anything can happen. But my point right now is 4th is the goal. Forget about 3rd. Last time we did this, Arsenal fans, we went 3rd and we lost. We went on this whole, we're going to get 3rd. We lost 3 games and everyone shut up again. Look, the goal is to get 4th. That's the whole
But current,
thing. Forget everything
no,
else.
current. But the goal is we should be pushed as high as we can get. Like Brandon mentioned
Of
earlier,
course.
get
Take
further.
it one game at a time. And if we can do it, great. But I don't want to hear every Arsenal fan coming on and being like, oh, top 3, we're going to get top 3, Chelsea in the mud, etc. It doesn't, who cares? The goal was top 4. If we get third, great. But the goal is one game at a time. Job is not finished. There's nothing to be happy about yet. The job is not finished. When the job is finished, then we can celebrate and do whatever you want. But until then, the job is not finished.
I hear you on that. We're going to bring in Saracen Guna to have his say with us as well now. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, bro. How are you today? You all right?
Yeah, I am, mate. Give me your thoughts on that performance and win.
Hello to the panel as well, and hello to everyone that's watching. I'm really happy. I think it was a very gutsy performance, a performance that probably last year or maybe even the year before we would have thrown away. And you know, I feel the team showed a lot of spirit. I thought holding was excellent. Really big performance by holding, and Ketia worked the channels really well. So yeah, really happy. And I know what the panel was saying. Don't get excited about top 3, but how can you not? With 3 points behind, Chelsea look like they're in trouble since that Rudiger decision. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I bet. I know you are. You know, very much are. And I want your take on Eddie Nketiah because he's going. All intents and purposes, looks like he's going. You know, he's part of this young group. You know, I feel like Lacazette had a really good run in the team for a few months and then kind of went off the boil. Eddie's come in the last 3 matches and he's really helped sort of solidify and balance your team out and give you a real good focal point up front.
I don't think Eddie's necessarily going. I think there's a contract on the table. He wants to know, am I part of the future? Now, if we get into obviously Europe, which looks like we are but whether it's Europa or Champions League, he's going to get game time. Obviously, we've got the cups as well. He wants to kind of just know how important am I for Arsenal, and he's proved it. And I feel like when we get top 4 now, right, I feel he's going to feel he's part of the team. He's only 22. England's under 21 all-time goal scorer. He's only going to get better. I think we really need to keep him as well. You know, I think we don't need 2 strikers. I think we need about 3 strikers, and he should definitely be one of them.
He could. I mean, listen, getting him to sign a new deal is very is easier than signing new players sometimes. What do you guys think? Would you want to keep Nketiah for another period of time? What would you say, guys? Think he's got to go?
Listen, if we get into the Champions League next season, like you said, we have to go to the next level. You know, the next level of players. If we're going to be competing, I don't think Nketiah is the right guy. I think he does have a future in the Premier League. I think he is a Premier League caliber player. But where we want to go, I don't think he really is that guy. He'll be good at Brighton. Like if he goes to somewhere at Brighton, I think he could do absolutely well. That game, 15 goals.
I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like we're wasting our time talking about Eddie Nketiah. He's probably going to end up at a club like Crystal Palace or something like that. This is not even an insult to him. He's most likely looking past Arsenal, looking past the situation at the club, and he's probably looking at where he could go next. And I think a club like Crystal Palace or a club lower down the table where they could possibly guarantee him time and embed him into the squad, that makes more sense than him staying for his own career. And for Arsenal, if we're going to be in Champions League football next season, we need 2 quality strikers. I would love to see us go and get a Gabriel Jesus and somebody else of quality to bolster our attack and to move on the likes of Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette.
I mean, do you not? So I'm assuming by that you don't think he's of Arsenal quality, the quality and level that you need to get back to.
No, I'm looking at both scenarios, Terry. I'm looking at for Arsenal, we should move on because, of course, we haven't given him many chances, and he probably wants to move on. And for my sake, I personally would want to raise the level of quality in the squad, and I feel like Eddie Nketiah or going and getting a Gabriel Jesus and somebody like Ivan Toney raises the level of the squad higher than keeping Eddie. And I just feel like they have more potential to grow and become better players than keeping Eddie Nketiah.
Do you agree with that, Curran? Is it about raising the standards of player and quality? I can't hear you, bro. Are you? Yeah, he's not on mute. I can't hear him.
Yeah.
There we go. You're back now. You're back
Hello?
now. You're
Can
back
you
now.
hear? Yeah. Basically, what I was trying to say was, look, Eddie is 22 years old, right? And this next move for him has to be one where his development is prioritized, and by that he needs game time. Can we assure him that he is good enough not even good enough, that he is going to be getting the starting time. The way he's had the last period of this time of his contract, he hasn't been playing until this past 3 games. And I can't really see him going, okay, calm. I played for the last end. Like the same thing happened with Pepe last season. He played 5 games very well, and then he just went back to being on the bench. And I like Pepe, but my issue is that we need to bring in a new crop. We have players that are not only coming in from outside, we have players coming through the system as well. Mika Birith, a Terrace John Jules, a Gerd Moller. There's a lot of talent coming through at the academy as well. So I just don't see him A, agreeing, and B, it being good for his stage development. I want the best for Eddie Nketiah. I think that it's not about his quality. I just don't feel like he is going to be the player that will lead us going forward in terms of a Champions League quality team.
I agree. It's good to hear Gunnar say that, because sometimes I feel that we go through this motion as football fans where we always hope, and I know we've all done this. And I'll go back to use a player as an example from years back, Danny Welbeck, when he played for Man United. I was always hopeful when he sometimes gone a little purple patch of form where he scored 3 or 4 goals in a couple of games, or have a really good game against a big team. And I just thought, childish thought really, of maybe this will kick him on to the next level where he'll be consistent and good enough for a Man United team back then that was winning Premier Leagues. Never works like that. Like if Eddie Nketiah was good enough, he would have already shown it by now over a period of time. He wouldn't have been riding the bench so long. He's had a good little spell now. The same though as Lacazette. When Lacazette had that good 3 months, it was like, oh my God, we don't need anybody else, because look, he's been here 4 or 5 years and hasn't done that consistently. That for me is what you need to know. Like he is not good enough, and you need to look to raise those games. And he's played well the last few matches, but as you say, either Tony, there's obviously Darwin Núñez that could be possible, especially with Champions League football. These players are a cut above what you've got, and there has to be that lack of, what's the word I would use? Romance and not sympathy. What's the word I'm looking for? Something that's emotional. Sorry?
Nostalgia.
No, not nostalgia. Where you stick with something.
Pragmatic.
The romance ain't right. No, yeah, there's a word I'm looking for. When you're sentimental, you can't be too sentimental with your players and like hold on to them for too long. And I think that's what Arsenal have got.
Can I say one more thing, Terry?
Do. Yeah, of course you can.
The Leeds game right now is going to be more important than the actual Tottenham game at this moment in time, because obviously we don't know what point total we're going to go into that Tottenham game with. If hypothetically they lose to Liverpool and we beat Leeds, we can go into that North London derby with a 5-point advantage. At this moment in time, we have to look at that Leeds game as the most important game of the season. Forget about looking forward. Forget about anything else. Just Tottenham always play ahead of us from now until the end of the season, so we'll know the result of the Liverpool game. Once we go into that Leeds game, if they win or lose, we have to win that Leeds game. That Leeds game is now the biggest game of the season. And I know we're going to say this every game of the season, but if we can win against Leeds and they lose against Liverpool, that could help put the nail in their coffin.
Yeah, I listen, the Liverpool game for Spurs now it's already big. It becomes massive now, because Spurs need what they did to Man City. They've got to do it again.
Miracle. That's what they need.
They do need a miracle. Anyone beating Liverpool at Anfield is a miracle. No, but they do need a miracle. But
they do. But it's just like I just feel like we did this. We built it up so much before, and then it just came crashing down. Just take it one game at a time, guys. One game. Have that that mentality of just look. We have to keep on this. We don't let this.
I think you just got to enjoy yourself.
Let this go.
No, I agree. I agree. I think you've got to enjoy yourself, but at the same time,
of course,
everyone's different. though. I'm superstitious, so when I'm talking about my team's games, forget now. Right now, I'm saying we're trash because we really are. But when I actually fancy my team to win, I very rarely predict it because I feel like I'm going to jinx it. So that's my way. I got a super chat here that says Champions League football equals more attractive for better players, equals better team, equals more consistent performance, equals trophy challenging. How people don't see this is beyond me. I'm going to have to read that 3 or 4 times to get it, Prince, but I'll do that. Thank you very much. Adams here says, you might disagree, Terry, but I think the claim that the EPL is clear of other leagues is overstated because we only have 2 teams that make the lead look good, but the rest of us make trash. So Adams, I've had this conversation many times. I say we're the biggest and best league based on how many people watch us because of how intriguing, entertaining, and enthralling we are. What the best league is based on the football, that's really going to depend upon your preference because Serie A plays a different style to the Bundesliga, to La Liga, to the Premier League. The overall quality of teams, that's also debatable as well. But what doesn't lie is this: more people domestically watch Premier League football year on year, gets bigger and bigger. The global audience keeps growing. There's a reason. Now, some of that is marketing and packaging, but if it was awful and if it was just boring and if people didn't enjoy it, you just wouldn't have America that have just, I think via NBC, have just done a new deal, which is worth about 20 to 30 million pounds more per season to each Prem club. It is, that's why it's the best for me. That's just why it's the best for me. It really, really is. No disrespect to the other leagues. They're all good, but
back up to that. Do you mind if I just back up that quickly?
Yeah, go, of course.
Basically, right, if you just take it objective fact, forget all the revenue and stuff. 3 European competitions. We've got 2 semi-finalists in one. We've got one out of the 4 semi-finalists in the other. We've got 1 out of the 4 semi-finalists.
It's lucky as well.
Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but if it's a case that you want to talk about objectivity and just basic facts, we have the most Champions League semi-finalists. We have one of the best Europa League, and we have Conference League semi-finalists. So just objectively, we have more quality.
I think in the last 3 to 4 years with the Premier League,
it's cyclic.
Yeah, of course it is. And if in 5 more years' time, when Klopp and Pep go, you might find a situation where suddenly it's the Liga that's back on top, or the Bundesliga has a 3 or 4 year period. I just think, do you know what I think it is with some people? They think that you're saying it's better because it's English. It's nothing to do with it being English. It's like 70% foreign anyway. It's just right now, viewing figures wise, we kill everybody. The best package out there. And in terms of quality, we're there or thereabouts. But that doesn't mean we're clear in the sense of no German, French, Italian team can beat English teams. It's like, again, everything's so binary with people. Daniel here says, Eddie goes and does well. The same lot will come here again and condemn Arteta and the club for it. Done with this wannabe pundits. There is an element of truth in that. You always see this. A player leaves and then look at this. I'll give you an example. This is what I will say to Arsenal fans on this, because mainly Arsenal fans watch him. Joe Willock. That guy, when he got those 7 goals in 7 games, I sat on street, don't get everything right, and I said he won't score 7 league goals across the next 2 seasons combined. It was an absolute fluke. He had all this time and space. He'd been used to being up against low blocks, and suddenly, bang, time and space, scored these goals. You managed to finesse £25 million for him. Eddie Nketiah will go to a team where he's got lots of time and space to run into, no one playing low block, and he'll score goals. That doesn't mean he would do it in an Arsenal shirt when teams all sit back and give you very little room. That's how I look at it. Simple as that for me. Simple as that. Let's add another caller into the show. We're going to go to, it's hard to pick, but we're going to go to Young Tommy's here. What are you saying, Young Tommy?
I'm all right. You guys good? How are you guys? You good?
Yeah, very well, mate. What are you saying?
The result was good. But we need to stop switching off, because when we switch off, it's going to annoy me. But yeah, because Bowen's goal was good, but we need to stop switching off, man. But yeah, the performance was good. Martinelli was a bit poor for me today. He kept on giving the ball away too many times. So he was dreadful today for me. Tavares, a bit poor for me. So yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, the reason Martinelli wasn't that good today, he had to cover for Tavares. He was constantly checking back to help him out, because, you know, you can't leave Tavares on his own. So obviously Martinelli was a bit...
Bowen especially when he switched over.
He gave the ball away too many times, though, man. Come on. Too many times.
Yeah, then again, the balls he received from Tavares wasn't that good as well. The passes could have been better, but
and then Nketiah needs to be clinical enough, because he's missed a lot of chances. This is why we need a top class striker, because this guy is just not he's just not it for me. But yeah, it's good to get 3. It's good to get 3 points. And what?
Yeah, the thing about Nketiah is he's doing the minimum, and that's what we need right now from our striker right now. Doing the bare minimum, making us run and putting pressure on, help him create chances for those players, and that's what we need. Because like I said, wasn't doing that right now, and bringing in Nketiah, just doing the bare minimum, he's doing well.
I think he was doing more than the bare minimum. I think he's I was just watching Sky Sports very well. Now, yeah?
I don't like this. Personally, I just
Sky Sports was saying though. Sky Sports was saying that basically they showed all these runs that he made, how he's off the shoulder, how he spread the play, how he's affected our season as well. So I think it's a bit bad to say, but probably bad's not the right word. But I think it's
Oh, you're right, bro.
Saracens.
I do agree.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I do tend to agree with it though. Like I will say this: that the runs Nketiah made, he had Zuma on toast multiple times, and he yes, he did miss his chances, those 3 chances, but he was literally trying to find the corner, and sure, he should have put them at least one of them away. You can say that, but the point is his link up play, the way he occupied both centre backs, his runs from the halfway line to give us that outlet ball, relieve the pressure. That's what won us this game. Because if we just kept let them keep recycling the ball in our own half, they would have gone through eventually. The fact that we had that ability to go, okay, we can hit Nketiah and he's just going to relieve the pressure, and his actual play coming deep as well, the ability to turn in deep. There were times when he was going up with Tomiyasu and actually helping out in the corner flag, for God's sake. Like, he was everywhere today. So I don't agree that Nketiah had a bad performance. I think that he had a very good performance, actually. I think that the only thing lacking was probably getting a goal.
Yeah. The goal, the goal, but he should do better though. You have to do better, man.
Yo, Tommy, do you believe we can get top 4 now?
Hopefully, bro. Leeds at home.
You were adamant we weren't gonna get it,
bro. Because I don't trust this manager, innit? But if we get top 4, it'll be good for us. And but Leeds at home is going to be tough because they're fighting for their lives. And Burnley just beat Watford yesterday, and Everton beat Chelsea. I knew Everton were going to beat them because Everton have their home form is good anyway. So, but Leeds at home is going to be tough because they're fighting for lives, and I like Leeds. I just want them to stay.
They are, Tommy. They are, Tommy. They're fighting for their lives, but I know they've got Jesse Marsh, and they're a little bit more stable now than when they had Bielsa.
Yeah.
But that team still leaks like a broken fridge.
Exactly.
For me, teams like Leicester are bread and butter for teams like Arsenal because they will open up and give you space, and you've got so much more quality there. And I'm not trying to tempt fate. Like, you should be fairly confident as long as you're concentrating and you're working hard. You beat Leeds for me. You really do.
No, we'll beat Leeds. I'll probably go for 2-1 in it. So like we beat them. I'll probably go for a 2-1 win against them. But yeah, we'll beat them. Then the North London derby, we only need a draw in the North London derby. We only need a point.
And then the thing with Thompson, that's what Karen was saying earlier, man. You have to take on the game by game basis instead of looking too far ahead. We go a game at try to get 3 points.
I'm fully down with the game on game basis stuff. All that. Listen, I've put my neck on the line from back in December, so I've been through all of this. I understand that. Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys now. Same. It's not if and buts and all that other stuff. I'm telling you guys right now. If we beat Leeds and they lose to Liverpool, it's gonna be so much pressure on them in the North London derby. I don't know if they're gonna be able to handle it. And when it comes to that North London derby, if we even get a point, at that point it's solidified. So right now, this Leeds game is the most important game, as we already said. And as Arsenal fans, we need to stop being so negative. We need to stop being so wishy-washy. We need to stop doing this thing where it's Arteta out when we lose, Arteta in when we win, and Arteta shake it all about when we draw. Like, realistically, all that matters is we get to the end of the season, we get top 4, and even if you don't want the manager, even if you don't think he's the man for the long term and short term, you have to give him credit for getting top 4. You have to give him credit for putting the team in the position that we've gotten in. I'm not saying it's the greatest season ever. You're laughing, Terry, but all I'm saying is you have to give the guy credit, and you have to give the players credit, and everyone who thought, every single pundit, all 20 of them on BBC, Sky, BT, every single pundit who predicted Arsenal would not get top 4, Leicester would get it, West Ham were better than us, Aston Villa were better than us. Just hold that.
And the pundit that sits in Spain. And the pundit that sits in Spain.
And a minute. I mean, they didn't all say that all those teams would finish in front of you, did they?
Yeah. I have. Do you want me to bring the Excel sheet?
No, it's cool. I just didn't hear that. I didn't hear many pundits say that.
Villa. None of us.
Slow down. I didn't hear many pundits say that Villa, West Ham, and Leicester would all finish in front of you.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened.
West Ham.
Really? Wow.
At the beginning of the season, before we played West Ham the first time, I was on the football terrace, and you laughed at me when I said we're gonna wipe the floor with West Ham at home. Do you remember that?
It wasn't so much laughing at you. It was the way you came across with these things. It was just so, and you did do very, very well indeed. But I also remember a few games after that, you calling Arteta to be sacked. So that's why I was laughing a few moments ago that you were sitting there and like, what I mean is you've really matured this year for me as a content creator, because everything you just said we can't do is literally what Igal was.
Terry,
brilliant.
Harry, to be fair to me, you even questioned me when I was saying stuff like I question Arteta. You're like, why are you still giving him praise? If you want the manager out, why are you
Well,
giving him praise?
but that's because I'm about consistency. So we did this on the 12th man when you sat there and said we're excited about the young squad, we're excited about the future, what we're building, and the direction the club's going in. And then in the very next breath, you would say, I don't like all the people behind the scenes. And I'm like, that don't make sense, because if you don't like them, but you're loving everything they're building, what are you not trusting? That's where I challenge you.
You want to know why though, Terry?
And I think that's a fair challenge.
The reason why I feel like I can say that is because obviously I'm not blind to the deficiencies, and I'm not blind to the improvements. I'm seeing both of them, and I'm trying to weigh which one is better.
I get that, but my point is this: if you're very excited about what's being built and what's going on, you can't have as much disdain as you make out. What I find with you, Gal, is that when it's going bad, like the way the club's run becomes a real issue for you. When it's going well, you're absolutely in love with it. And for me, it's a case of, I think it's about being a bit more balanced at all times with how the club's being run, not so much with the manager or players, because you do that game by game. And I think where football fans have got a too binary is what
Terry. Everyone does that.
Who does that?
Everyone does that. When things are going bad, you bring up ownership, you bring up recruitment, you bring up deeper lining issues. But when things are going well, you give credit to everybody that's performing.
Yeah, I mean, look, loads of other people do it, and I challenge them as well. I mean, for me, I never let up on the Glazers, even when we're winning. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'll say well done for everything they've done, but that's my point. Like, if I was saying the direction that Man United are going in, the way everything's amazing that we're doing, and we lose a game, and I go, oh, this club's run like crap. That for me is too hypocritical in a short space of time for me, I think. But I challenge everybody's opinions. That's the nature of the beast, my guy. Like, it's just the way it is. But I think you're right, though. Back to your overarching point around Arteta in one game, Arteta out the next. That's mental. It's mental. What I don't like either, though, is people that love Arteta. He has a bad 2 or 3 games, and it's just boring excuses rather than, do you know what? He picked the wrong team today, or he put when he put Xhaka at left back and not in midfield. That should be allowed to be called. Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
and that one second. And that should be allowed to be called out without the toxic positivity fans going mental. Why are you challenging him? It's both sides are weird to me, bro. It's like, well, he needs to be Fergie, go. Do you know how many times as a fan I criticized what he did? Oh, why did he do that today? If he'd have done this instead, that's just natural. But we've got in this little world where it's like, if you say one negative thing about Arteta, you have to be an Arteta outer. And if you are an Arteta inner, you're not allowed to say, you've got to be positive about everything. It's weird, man. Polarization is a weird thing for me. It's strange, but that's just my take. But I'm glad you said what you said there, Gal, because it ain't black and white.
Hey, Gal.
Yeah.
But bro, I don't flip flop. Even when we win games, I'm still Arteta. I don't flip flop like other people. I just stick to my opinions. Like, I don't flip flop. Like,
Thomas, can I ask you a question?
I still want a top class manager. I want a Mancini. I want Simeone. I want a
Thomas, can I ask you a question? All right. Before we lost 5 Man City, right? What was the expectation for the season?
Bro, I didn't expect to get top 4.
All right, then so Europa League. We've qualified for Europa League football, and you're still going after that, man. We've secured Europa League football. That was the expectation there at the beginning of the season.
Bro,
why change it?
No one expected Leicester to be this bad. No one expected Tottenham to be.
No. But you
No,
have to be consistent
don't
about it.
switch
What happened
around.
to consistency?
Yeah, you have to be consistent. Like, we've been inconsistent in it, but
How are we're the most consistent team? Why are we in the 4th place? Because we're so consistent right now. We won games in a row. We won 7 games in a row from January to March.
True.
So I look at it this way:
when we lose games, everybody just Arteta out. But I don't flip flop. I just stick to what I.
I'll defend young Tommy on this. He's stuck to his games, and he's come on in many times and praised wins. He does it also, by the way, just by making top 4. Doesn't mean that someone like Tommy has to be convinced that Arteta is the right guy to win him a league title. And that's where football fans, I'd say everything comes down to, you said we wouldn't even make top 6, we made top 4, therefore you're wrong about Arteta. But when the opinion is, I don't think Arteta will win us the league, it's a bit like a league gunner. He's very clever. He set the standard so high that it's actually almost impossible for him to be wrong about his overarching point. Because he says, I want him sacked because he'll never win us a league title. Until he wins you a league title, he's always right.
He's right. Yeah, that's fine.
and that's what I'm saying about young Tommy. I like Tommy. It's like I think young Tommy will say well done to Arteta if he gets him into the top 4, but he still expects his team to become better. I think that's normal.
That's fine, and
he's not good
this is
enough.
why I don't have an issue with him.
He's not good enough to win us the league. He's not good enough to win us the league. He's not good enough. We need like an Ancelotti.
Wait, Thomason, you go in, but the squad he has right now, he hasn't got the tools to win us the league right now. Give him time, get the tools and the players. Then you can do. If you can spend 200 million in 2 years, he wins 200 million per window, and we have the squad to challenge for the title, and he comes third or fourth. Then you're right to have that opinion. But as of right now, the squad is so far away.
Give Ancelotti that squad. We'll be challenging.
And Tom, Sam, this is what happened. And Sam, this is what will happen in that opinion. Say you do spend 150 this summer and 150 the next summer, and then he's had what 500 million pounds or so in those years, and then doesn't win the league title. The Arteta outers will say, "See, you should listen to us. You should have sacked him 4 years ago." But that's the way opinions work, isn't it? Like it is what it is. What's wrong with celebrating a win and being positive about Arsenal?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Terry, let me just quickly say something. Look, I have no issue with any, like most of the Arteta outs. I've got actually no issue with it because most of them are thinking he's not won us anything. That's fine. Don't have an issue with that. Everyone has their opinion. You're allowed your opinion. Do you? That's not a problem. My problem is when there's intellectual discontinuity. So where you have the dissonance between your logic and facts that have been presented to you. So if you say to me at the beginning of the season that, like for example, one of these Twitter accounts said to me, "Oh, I'll bet you 500 quid if we finish top 6, I'll give 500 quid to charity," and then. Well, now we finished top 6. I haven't heard from him in the past 3 months. So my issue with people is when things go, and the same happens with me. When things go wrong for me, you know what? I'm gonna sit quiet. I'm not gonna take my shit, and it is what it is. But my issue with people is when the goal sticks move. When it's top 4, if you get top 4, then calm. If you're saying to me that to win a league title is what's going to take me to be with this manager, and you stick to that the entire time. I've got no issue with that. Do you? That's your opinion. My issue is when people make hurdles and then change the hurdles consistently. And in terms of like the other managers that you've mentioned, Simeone, Simeone is a good low block manager and he's done well in La Liga. But the issue is, would you want to have that kind of culture at the club right now? And I'm not sure about that right now. Ancelotti has been proven at Everton that he didn't do well in this league just last season. And Mancini, yeah, he's a good manager, but the issue is that if you've got a structure and a platform here to now go from Champions League football, hopefully, and build on that. I don't know. See what's the point in going from this point to change.
I listen, and I think that's a sound view. I also understand. For me, there is this, and I want to bring it back to this point here. It says the super chat that says, Terry, it's harder if you're a fan of a club to find a middle ground. Just like the Ollie situation, rival fans could see he weren't the one, but many United fans thought he was. I was very different on this. I didn't think Ollie was the right guy to make us win league titles, but I didn't necessarily want him sacked because I didn't believe we had the structure to bring a new manager in and to grow from. And Ralph was an interim, but you saw there was no structure because it crumbled like a deck of cards. I think, though, the one thing I disagree with you on is I don't think you should be building Arsenal's future based on Arteta being the guy leading it. It should be a club structure where Arteta where Arteta is interchangeable. Therefore, if a better version of Arteta is suddenly available. So if Klopp was suddenly available as a manager, no matter how well Arteta is doing, you sack Arteta and you go and get Klopp, right? Like a striker. And I think and that's a very warped example, but it's one that everyone agrees with. Everyone would want Jurgen Klopp. I look at it like this. If you've got a very good striker, but suddenly a world-class striker becomes available, and they fit the profile of player that you want and you need, they fit your system and style, you should go and try and buy them. There should be an element of that with the management side of things. And I think that the clubs that are run the best have that. Now, of course, Jurgen Klopp and Pep have brought lots of ideas and things into Liverpool, but I can almost guarantee that they will maintain a lot of those new practices when those guys leave and they add new people in. And it's also the directors of football at those clubs that have also done a hell of a lot of work as well. And look, I agree with a lot of people. I think sacking Arteta now, if there isn't a better manager out there that you could actually go and get, like who's available now to get, it would be a little bit premature. There has to be someone available out there who's of that level, of that ilk, that you could go and get. But so Ram's here. What are you saying, Ram?
Yeah, I was just going to add upon your point, Terry. I think, I don't know, I don't want to put words into Tommy's mouth, but I think the main issue with a lot of these Arteta outplay people is that Arteta hasn't really got a CV. You know what I mean? He hasn't really done anything pre-Arsenal. Like, I don't like to put the comparisons with Liverpool, but when we got in Jurgen Klopp, we all knew what he did with Borussia Dortmund. And that's what Liverpool fans were sort of goading themselves on, that this guy will bring us back to where we're meant to be. The problem with Mikel Arteta is that this is his first big managerial appointment, and we don't know what he's like. We don't know what the future is going to hold for him. We don't have a sort of reference to see what he's going to do, because right now is a little bit, if you get top four, we still have to wait and see if the guy can maintain top four for Arsenal Football Club. But I think for certain people, I know like people that support the Arteta out, that they don't want to see Arsenal do well. I do have a little bit of a problem with that, but give where credit's due, man. Like Arteta's done very well this season. If he gets top four, it'd be a very, very good season for Arsenal, and he deserves at least another year just to see what he can do, whether he can maintain this level for Arsenal. But yeah, give the guy credit where it's due. That's all I got to say for that.
Yeah, and I think many people would agree with you. Terry, send the link, BBC Pundits, what they predicted start of the season in the WhatsApp group. Okay, great. Listen, I'll go and have a little look at that. Now, the maddest thing is, I'm really bad like this. I very rare, unless people send me things, I don't really consume mainstream media. Like, I don't watch the build up to games. I watch the game and I turn it straight off and I stream. So I just care more about what fans have got to say than I do pundits, if that makes sense. But someone just sent me the BBC predictions here. I know a lot of people.
Top four, actually, yeah. All top four positions. I think some of them had Leicester in it. Some of them had.
You know what?
They didn't have.
A couple of them had Liverpool at fifth.
Yeah,
Liverpool
this reminds me. Sorry, Gab. This reminds me of like 2 seasons ago when Chelsea and Man United were both predicted to not finish inside it. I think Arsenal were predicted in, and then when they did, I remember the funniest one was True Geordie. I love True Geordie, but Man United came, I want to say, third that season. And in their like post-season sort of review, it was like, yeah, but we all knew they were going to finish in the top 4. And then when you went to their actual prediction show, someone put a clip up. They all predicted like 6th, 7th, and 8th. And this is just what happens. I think what people don't. This is where I stand on all these conversations. Have Arsenal been presented with an opportunity because particular teams were not as good as we thought? Yes, but they still have to be consistent enough to jump into that hole. And if you go back 3 games ago, Arsenal looked like they could end up finishing 6 or 6 or lower again with Man United or whoever else jumping in front of them, and they've bounced back. You're better off this season by what? You must be about 12 points better off this season than you were last year. So there's legitimate improvement from last year in terms of the points total that you've got, and you've had those moments where you look like you were going to stay in a bad run, you've got out of it, and I think to not recognize that is crazy. But pundit predictions are pundit predictions. You know what I mean? Like, so much they get so much wrong every year when you actually focus on it. Ian, right place, right time, says we'll get smoked in the Champions League, but I want it. I'm still Mikel out. He says here, I'm still Mikel out because he's learning on the job, and a serious club doesn't hire a rookie. Next season should be his last, and get Ancelotti or Mancini is what's being said. What are you saying about that, boys?
No, I'll just tell you right now.
Yeah, grass ain't always green on the other side.
I feel like that's an outdated take, honestly, when it comes to always saying Mikel Arteta's a rookie, he makes mistakes. Guess what? Jurgen Klopp's a very experienced manager. He made a similar mistake when he had all his center backs out. He took his DMs, put them in the center back position, and it cost them a lot of points that season. And guess what? No one was saying Klopp out. They understood that they had issues with the manager had to figure out a solution. And what happened the next year? You see with their fully fit squad that you don't need to worry about that. In my opinion, Mikel Arteta makes mistakes. He's made mistakes this season. After you could see by the Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Brighton game, he's made mistakes. And you know what? He's rectified those mistakes and he's learning on the job. As much as you want to make fun of him for it, every top manager makes mistakes and they rectify it, but we don't give them as much criticism because they have the CV.
No, all I'm going to say is just quickly, Terry. just quickly, Terry. The only thing I'm going to say is that we didn't finish top 4 under Emery. We didn't finish top 4 the last season of Wenger. And if we finish top 4, this will be the first time this decade we finish top 4. Okay, this will be we haven't forget about what we can do in that since 2016 exactly. So we have to look at it in terms of how the club have gone in the last, what's come up to it, and now you can see he's had the time to get out the players. We were still having goddamn Mustafi at the back. We had like Kolasinac, Mustafi, all these guys from Wenger's era who are still at the club. The guys that are here now, this is his squad, okay. And from the beginning of the season, I said this is his squad because he's got out a lot of the people that he wants to get out. He's brought in the people he wants to get in, and it's his squad. Now you can judge and see, look, is he a good enough manager? Is he a good enough? Because these are his players. He's either signed or extended all of these players. These are his players, and this is his squad. So judge him on this squad. I don't understand the whole, okay, he finished 8th and 8th. Well, I mean, if you look at the tools that he was given and the toxicity, I mean, we had got Lacazette and Aubameyang doing balloons in clubs and stuff with Ozil. Like the culture of the club was a mess. And he's come in, he's done that, and we're on a good path. And that's
and you know what I think it is though, Curran, and this is, you're absolutely spot on with what you say there. And this is what I would say to Gooners. They don't want to. I wouldn't like to see Arteta inners, to call them that, become like Arteta Ollie inners, where if it does start going wrong, this is where people need. The one thing I would say, and this isn't all people that support Arteta, is Arsenal should come first over the manager or players. And too many fans now. And this isn't exclusive to Arsenal, this is across all fan bases, their opinion being right, their agenda being right, becomes more important to them than their club succeeding. If you start next season, Man United could be not back next year, but should be of a higher level with Ten Hag coming in as an example. Antonio Conte from the start of the season with a full transfer window, you would expect Spurs to be better. Right. There's going to be one sec, Tom. There's going to be improvements there. I know that most proper Gooners, if you start the season and you're not as good as you were this year, or you're falling behind, or you spend lots of money and it isn't going how you want it to, that's when it's then fair, irrespective of whether you supported him this year or not, to turn around and say, right, maybe he isn't the right guy from this point and this moment to take us forward. It should be very agile, not reactionary game by game, but agile how you feel about your manager, because you have to assess things like on not a game by game basis, but over a period of time. And this time next year, Curran could be sitting here and saying, thank you, Arteta, but I think it's as far as you can take us. Joe Bloggs is going to be available in the summer. We want to move on. And I just think fans have got to stop marrying themselves so deeply to players and managers. And if they start to underperform, be happy for them to be dropped. If they're not performing to the level you expected, it's fine to say they should be sacked and moved on. It's just got a little bit weird where it's become so tribal. People care more about the manager staying or going than they do their actual football club. It's weird to me.
100%.
Yeah, Terry, I just wanted 100%. To make, I was talking to Man United fans. I think just to talk about Man United a little bit is that I think the best thing for your club right now is to finish like an 8th place position, because some of the players who are at the club, not being at European football, are only there for a paycheck. They can go, and it makes the rebuild a little bit easier for you guys.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think, look, playing one game a week next year, you can argue it's easier, but at the same time, Ten Hag's going to want to try things out, rotate things, get new players in. I don't think we can win it next year, but I'd rather Champions League football than not have it. Where I disagree with Lee Gunner is, Arsenal might not be able to win it next year. But do you know what the experience of Saka and Smith Rowe getting Champions League football could do for them? It's a different type of football. It's a different level of football. So you want it. Of course you want it. Like for me, I don't even mind. I don't want to be in the Conference League, but I'd rather be in the Conference League than no Europe at all, actually. I would rather it, because it could still be a trophy that you win. And sometimes just having those trophies helps. It breeds a bit of winning. And if Ollie would have won a few of those trophies he was in for, got into another final or two, who knows if things would have kicked on and got a bit different? No one knows. So, I don't want to finish 8th or lower, mate, to be honest with you. But we might, though, because we're shit. We are dog shit. We are shit.
Terry, just to move it away from United for a second, we've spoken about Chelsea already. I don't think we're going to catch Chelsea personally, and I don't really care about 3rd. But what I want to speak about is, are Chelsea closer to us in the 4th place position than they are Liverpool and City? Because I've been talking about this for a long time, and now that they've had all their issues, based on the run of this season, they've been closer to us than they've been to Liverpool and City.
Tell them, Miguel. Tell them.
No, let me just say on this really quickly, because we're coming towards the end. I think you have to take into huge consideration what's gone on at the club with Roman, the takeover, the fact that they can't sit in a room with Antonio Rudiger and offer him a new deal. Like, it's against the law. They can't talk to players. Now, I know they've done a bit of intermediary work, but there's only so far that can go. They've got Jules Koundé that wants to join them. There's nothing, like right now they can't chat to the guy. All these things play a part. Players leaving. The fact that this story should shake Chelsea fans. There's 3 big Premier League clubs and 2 big European clubs that are putting dossiers together and plans to try and sign Mason Mount, and 2 big European giants, one being Real Madrid, to sign Reece James. Under Roman, with the quality of those 2 players, no one would try and sign them. People now fancy their chances at taking those players away, which tells me internally within football, there are rumors and murmurs of real problems internally at the club, which I don't think is an indictment of how bad the squad is or Tuchel is. I just think it's an internal issue that's kind of rotting them from the inside out. And Tuchel's been very professional. I'm going to be here next year. And if you listen to what he says, it's, I want to be here next year. He hasn't even got a guarantee they want him as the manager next year. I'm not saying they're going to move him on, but that's what I would say if I'm being honest, mate. If that Roman thing didn't happen, I think there'd be easily 10 to 12 plus points in front of all of us, and we wouldn't even be talking about it. That's my view anyway, mate. That's all.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the only thing I would say about that is, look, Chelsea have had one of the weirdest seasons of their existence. I mean, there's the whole Roman situation and the sanctions, etc., etc. But look, in terms of what happens with them going forward, it was always difficult. I don't think it's ever been done that you've had a 3 at the back system be sustainable in this league for more than 18 months. And if you look at Conte, for example, you look at different players different teams that have gone through it. They've had a good situation, and it's been going for example, like Arteta with him when he first came in. It worked for 6 months, and then we moved away from it. The issue now is getting players in that can sustain a 4-back formation under Thomas Tuchel, and if they don't do that over this coming summer, then it's going to be tricky for them, because a lot of teams have figured out that if you just mark them up man for man, try and play them and deny them the ability to sit back in the low block and just let them come out to you and play the game, there's a way to get past them in games. So I think there's a lot of issues going on. And the only thing I would ask, because I remember I think you mentioned the Rory Jennings video before, Terry, but the whole issue with him saying that if Roman was still here, that Everton game might have his job. Do you guys agree with that? I think that's a ridiculous take.
I don't, in the sense of, historically, when you look at Roman, if you could win a Premier League or Champions League the following year, like if he was this far behind the league title challenge, out in the quarterfinals, no trophy, and maybe like the FA Cup might be the deciding point. I've seen Roman sack people for that. Like, I really think Roman would sack a manager for that. Like
Ancelotti, good example.
Ancelotti is a great example. Look, Jose, their most successful manager probably ever in that little period he had, and he went when he started the season off poorly. Obviously, I know Di Matteo wasn't ever good enough, but the way he got rid of him, I just feel like he could. I wouldn't say would, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tuchel would sack if Roman was still in charge this summer. But there was a lot of talk about him backing him, but I just don't think would have been this bad if all that stuff wouldn't have happened. So you are right, though, Curran. Next year is going to be massive because the new owners will be there. There'll be no distractions. They'll have their squad. And this is the crazy thing. We don't even know how big they're really going to go because no one knows how good or bad these new owners are. There's all this, they're going to put 200 million, 300 million pound aside to spend. No one knows what they're doing. At the moment, they're trying to make these new investors guarantee not to sell the club within the next 10 years. I understood all the Ricketts protests. I understood them all. But there has been no attention from Chelsea fans around, hang on. When I saw Serena Williams and Hamilton investing, everyone was like, wow. I'm like, what are you saying wow for? They're doing it to make money out of you. They're not doing it to run your club. You've got to be very careful about these hedge funds and these investment companies and these consortiums. What is their end goal? If their end goal is to make money, your first question should be how? Because their end goal is to make money. They're not going to spend. They might not spend willy-nilly. Like, all these things need to be addressed because Chelsea could find themselves in for a rude awakening. Ferry, stop your excuses for Chelsea. Terry, ask the Liverpool fans if they still want Werner. we know that there. Michael Ramsey, top man. Listen, everyone that has tuned in, sorry that we can't take any more calls on today's show. I do apologize. I know a lot of you waited very patiently. I'm very sorry. But everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Smash the like and share buttons. Fan channel review show out tomorrow. Very much looking forward to recording that later. Top 6 show back tomorrow, hosted by man like KJ. Match reaction to Man United Bournemouth as well. And then we're back in the studio from next week. Of course, big Champions League games and much more. Until then, people, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all